Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss in detail about TCS interview experience. But before we get started, let us thank a subscriber who has shared in detail experience about how it was and how many interviews, how many rounds of interviews she had. So if at all you want to tell her thanks, you can comment in the comment section as thank you, and maybe I'll pass it on. So let us get started. So it all started with a call from a recruiter from a consulting firm, that called her and asked her if she is available for an interview with TCS. She said yes, and that's how her profile was forwarded to TCS, and that is when her round one began. Okay, so let us see what were the questions that were asked in the round one. So round one was about 30 to 35 minutes, where there was only one recruiter who was trying to interrogate with her and find out what she has done. So if you can see on my screen, I've categorized it for a better understanding here. So the first question that she was asked, and this is like something like very generic in every interview that we go. So tell me about yourself. So she explained it very well. Like, I think she has mostly followed our videos that are available in my YouTube channel, and from that, she has prepared her own story, like what is her profile, how many years of experience she has in Tableau, what kind of reports she has developed, and what is her team size, how does she get data. So she already had answers for these kind of questions written in her diary. So that is something that she has done very good. So this was the first question that was asked to her: how do you get data in your organization? So this is something that we have discussed in our previous video also. How do you get data? So generally there is a database team who will bring us the data, or there will be an ETL team who will process the data, and they will load the data into final tables, and from that final table we'll get our data. So now, so this is something that we need to answer to the recruiter in a very convincing way, because often I have observed that whenever we fail to answer these kind of questions, this is where they caught us and we get rejected. So this is one area. I mean, it looks very generic question, but we fail to explain him convincingly. So try to spend some time in preparing your own story. Whenever you get this kind of question, how will you answer? So next question was, what is your data source? Again, you can tell whatever the data source you are familiar with. It can be your MySQL, or it can be your Oracle, or it can be your Teradata, or it can be your Snowflake, anything, but name one data source. Okay, so this is again very important, so don't get confused. You can name it randomly, but for first, and I think the next question, third one, you need to have your predefined answers prepared. Okay, so what is your team size? Okay, so mostly like 2 to 4, whatever the number you feel comfortable, you can answer that. But majority, like one, team size 1 is also possible, team size 4 is also possible. So there are all the possibilities. So anything that you feel comfortable, you can tell that based on your comfort level. Now, like fourth, explain your project. Like I always tell, prepare your story for this. This is going to be a very important, you know uh, what you call milestone in your interview things. So make sure you have a perfect draft of this question, because this is going to serve in every interview that you're going to attend. So if you need any help in this, you can comment to me in the comment section, or you can write to me, or you can reach out to me, whatever you feel comfortable, you can do that. But I'm always available for you to help you on this question. Now, fifth question was, who will assign work to you? So it's generally like our leads or manager or tech leads, or from clients, we get task assigned to us. So this is like very basic question. Now, what is your day-to-day activities? Again, like one very generic question. We can explain our developers life, like what kind of reports we develop, how we develop, and all. I think this also we have discussed in our previous videos. So you can, first 6 questions are very, very, very important. not only with respect to TCS, but any interview you go, these are very generic questions, but yet they are very conclusive questions. Okay, so that's why recruiter first spend some time on this only. Okay, so next he went on to some SQL questions, because she did answer this all these six questions very convincingly. So the recruiter felt that, okay, this girl has a genuine experience, and that's how again he went on with some SQL questions here. So she got some SQL questions like what is primary and foreign key. Okay, so difference between that, and how will you remove duplicates in a SQL. So like distinct we have, or group by we have, so we're using that. She answered this question. And now what is the difference between delete and drop? So we have three statements, basically delete, drop, and truncate, so which are very important, and you can expect one question in this. Okay, and this was the question that was asked. Again, display salary of top employee of each department. Again, so she was asked to write a sequel on this, which she wrote. And I think only four questions she had in the sequel. Now let us, after this, the recruiter went on with the technical questions here. So remember, this was the round one of her, so it was not in detail discussion, but recruiter was rather trying to see how good she is, so that he can pass her profile to the other projects that are available in TCS. So that was the intention here. So now these were the technical questions that were in the Tableau. So what is difference between group and sets? Okay, so like we always discuss what is difference between group and set. So set is like a conditional object, so it is always like changing. So 3 to 4 points are there on this groups and sets. Okay, so you can tell that. So group is like on set is like a condition, so based on that condition your data will change, whereas group is something like static. Like you can say the group of friends, so these friends will remain forever, the notion that we have. Okay, so that is a group. But whereas like top 5 students of a class, so this top 5 students will continuously change based on the rank they get, so that is a set, like a condition object. Now how many tables can we join in Tableau? Again, one very important question. So here we can join 32 tables. Okay, similarly, how many columns can we have at the max in Tableau? So when he said that how many columns here, now suppose we are trying to build a cross tab report, assume that. Okay, and I am having only dimension field. Suppose I'm taking my region. Okay, and I'm taking, like, say, category. Okay, and like that I'm trying to add multiple dimensions to my view and trying to prepare a cost tab report. So like this, how many dimensions I can have at the max? So that was the question. So to answer this, you can go to analysis section here, and under table layout you can go to advanced section. So this is where you are seeing the limit. So currently it is 50. Earlier in older versions of Tableau, I think we had only 16, which we can again change it to maybe 32 or something like that. But after the recent upgradation of Tableau, they have made it to 50. I think from here it is not possible, but from Tableau level it is 50. So you can answer that question here. Okay. Now, next question was, if I have multiple measures, which chart I can use? This was the question she had. So I think she answered tree map here. Okay. Now, how can I write LOD expressions using multiple measures? So this was the one question that was asked. So to write an LOD expression, we need at least one measure and one dimension. So I think using multiple measures. So I think we can write, but we need to write like a nested statement here, nested LODs. But the standard syntax of LODs looks like this. Okay, so if I write something like enclosing in flower bracket, it is an LOD expression here. Okay, and if at all I want to have a more meaningful LOD expression, then I would specify my scoping keyword like fixed, include, or exclude, then specify with the dimension I want, followed by one colon. and then I would write like this. So this way also we can write it, LOD expression. Now what is the filter or order ID of execution? Now again, this is something very important. The filter order of execution is very important. So you need to remember the order of execution. So this is the order: extract filter, data source filter, context filter, dimensions measure, and table calculation. So this is the order of your execution. So you need to remember that. Okay, so next was like, there were some questions on joining and blending, like when will you go to join and when will you go to blending, in what and how many types of joins you have, and all. So this type of questions she had in this. So maybe we can expect like 2 to 3 questions here in this on joins and blending. And next question was like, what is cross join? So this was the again question that was asked to her. So she could answer majority of these questions, I think, except this fifth question, which she was little confused. The others, she answered all of them. And after this, there were some scenario based questions also. Now, like, you know, a lot of queries we got these days, whether we'll get scenario based questions or not. So trust me, in every interview you'll have at least 2 to 3 scenario based questions. So it can be anything. So you need to start practicing, so that you can answer this kind of questions in interview. So do comment in your comment section if at all you want to have some practice questions, so that I can send it along and you can practice, and we can continue these sessions like this. So the first question was like, I have months like January, February, March, December, and the user wanted like Jan should be in green color and Feb in red, like alternate months to be in green color. So 1, 3, 5, 7 and all in green, and 2, 4, 6, 8 like that in uh, red color. So she was asked to write logic. So here she was little confused, but there are multiple approaches to this which we can do. We can write a case statement. Okay, so like it is a very beginner level, what you call, form of writing logic here. So where we try to write it as using case statement, like case of field I will take whatever the field name is, like say month name I'll take. Okay, and here I will write when it is Jan, then I'm calling it as let's say green. Okay, so likewise when it is Feb, then I'm calling it as red. So likewise again for third month I will write for March, I will take it as then, and I will again write it as green. Okay, so likewise I will write for all the months that are specified. So this is one form of writing, or the second form is same thing, we can write it like this also using if statement again, but this is also not correct. What we can do is we can do mod, we can use mod function, and we can try to write the logic. So it's like trying to find out if the equivalent to, like, what I'm doing is I'm trying to divide my month number like 1 by 2, and I'm trying to take the divisor here or the reminder here. And so let me show you here. So I'm going to cancel this, and let us write mod here, and I'm going to write mod of 1 comma 2 I'm going to write here. So I think mod is function is not there here. Okay, maybe mod function is not there. So if it is not there, you need to write it using case statement and all. So there will be our division function also we can use. division of 1 comma 2, and then maybe try to take the remainder and then see what is the value that we get. So using that also we can try to find out here. Next here is next question was, if I have, like I have countries with names like India, IND, comma INDIA or I. So for the same country name, we have three different names. Same for USA, United States, USA, we have United States of America, etc. So here the question was like data is inconsistent. How will you make it consistent? That was the question. So here I think she answered partially. So what we can do is we can use group function to group all the related countries into one country. Like I can group all my INDIA and I into one common country called as India, and I can show them. Similarly, I can group USA, United States, etc. into one, and I can show them as United States. So we can cleanse our data using this group function. Okay, so next was I have region wise sales and profit. I have excluded east region, and I want to show percentage on to show percentage on it. And how will you show? This was the question. So it's pretty straightforward. We can go and click on that percent of total. When you create a bar chart, it will automatically display. So basically it is just to show how we can use table calculations here. Now again, fourth question was, what type of dashboards have you created? Again, this is very important, guys. We need to have an answer prepared for this. So there are many types of dashboards, like sales dashboard or HR dashboard, or what do you call drill down reports, or scorecard dashboard. So you need to have such kind of terminology that you need to speak during the interview, so that the interviewer or client, whoever is talking to you, will have some confidence whenever you are giving the answer. So make sure you are using this terminology, and make sure you are mentioning them in your resume as well. So this is going to be very important in your profile getting shortlisted as well. Next was, after this her interview was finished, and she and he asked whether she has any questions or not. So for which she directly asked for feedback. They said that the interview went well, so you can expect another call from the TCS. But after that, maybe after next day, they have scheduled another round with the client. So this was a round two, where the client directly took the interview offer, and this went on for more than 1 hour, like a complete grilling session, I would say. Okay, so which means here the interviewer or the recruiter is keen in taking to you. That is the reason they're spending so much of time in you. So always understand, if your call is extending for so long, means the recruiter wants to know more about you, because you are reaching their expectations, closerly. So if they have disconnected it earlier, in a very short span, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, which means the client is not happy with the performance. So that way also you can judge how well you are doing. So in our first round, it went on for 30 to 35 minutes, because she was able to answer all of that questions. The interview went on for so much of time. Again, next it went on for 1+ hour, so more than 1 hour she was able to justify herself for all the cross questions she was getting. So prepare well and be confident whenever you are facing interviews. It is going to be very important, because they are going to ask you some generic questions where you will fail. Technically you might answer it because you have practiced it very well, but for generic questions also you need to have question answers. So for that, you can follow my videos that are available in my Tableau, or you can comment in my comment section whatever the type of doubts you have. I'll definitely try to help you. So in round two, there were three panel members, unlike the first round where there was only one. So here, like, one candidate was asking generic question, Okay, second was asking Tableau technical. Okay, and third guy was asking SQL questions. So all were trying bombarding her with the questions. So she kept her peace here because she knew she can answer the questions, and she was trying to be very patient. So first, the panel one started with generic questions, trying to understand her what kind of work she has done, what is her project environment, how does she migrate reports, what is her team size. So her interview started with this kind of question. So she, because she has already got this kind of questions, so she was able to answer it very confidently. So initially, like, she was also able to pick up the space with the questions that were being asked, like how do you get, again the same question she was asked in the second round as well, how do you get data, because she answered in the round one itself the same question she answered, even with a better confidence level here. Okay, so again the interviewer was, he felt happy, and he again started answering more questions related to that. So he asked, how do you migrate the data? So here generally guys, in real time we also have a checklist. Okay, like what are the things that we make sure are available, and also you need to make sure you're using the right terminology. Always remember, this is going to play a very vital role in your interview. So if you're not going to use the real time words, then it might cost you your job or your interview. So use the words like the migration, or production environment, or development environment, or testing environment. So this kind of words you need to use in your interview while you are explaining the process. So with that only, interviewer will know that you have genuinely worked in the process. Otherwise he will feel that you have mugged up the answers. Okay, so don't let that happen. Use the words, and this can only happen only when you practice or you write it down somewhere. Okay, so next question was again, what is your team size? Like I said, again you can always mention somewhere around 1 to 4. What I think, this girl has answered as a 2, because she shared, she has one lead who will help her in critical task, or when, or he will give some task. So that kind of justification she gave whenever she was explaining the team size related question. So again, next question was, what kind of reports and charts have you created? So here one question was like, what kind of charts you have created other than what is available in Show Me. So I think, what kind of new charts you have created other than what is available in Show Me. So for that, I think she told that she has created donut chart, one common answer that many give in interviews. So but luckily the interviewer asked her the steps for that. So which I think she has explained in detail about the process of creating donut chart. Okay, so now the first panel was okay. So now after that, that second panel started asking a Tableau related questions. So here in Tableau technical questions, I think we don't remember all of them, because but the bottom of the line is, this guy touched all the important topics of Tableau that we can tell you for sure. But some of the questions that I can remember, or that she has remembered, I tried to write it down. Okay, so now first question was, how do you get top and bottom in a single view? So for which she said that using sets we can create. He asked her to explain the step-by-step process of this. So I'm going to write, using set we can implement uh, above ask. Okay, so next, what is the difference between, what is parameter and why do you use, what is difference between live and exact connection? So what is filter order of execution? So these were some of the initial questions that were asked to her. Now what is the context filter and all. One new question was, what is window function? Now this window functions are something very important which many of us don't focus when we go to interviews. But these days we are being asked at least one question on window function, like what is window function. So at least you need to tell what is the functionality of window function, how does it compute the value. You should be at least able to explain that to the interviewer, like what are the different window functions available. So like we have window underscore max or windows underscore min or average, like this kind of functions we have available. Other uh, common functions that can be asked the interviewer, what is zn function, what is if null, or what is null, and what is the difference between if null versus is null, where many fail to answer again this question. So this type of function related questions also you need to be aware of, because sometimes he might ask, and these are very important because we whenever we want to make our code standardized, we use this kind of functions. So for that, because of that only they are important. Okay, so what are LODs again? Okay, one important questions. So these days in many interviews, they are asking about LOD expressions. So you need to spend some time on LOD expressions, like what is LOD expression, how many types of LOD expressions we have, how what is the purpose of that and all. So at least you need to explain them the functionality of this. In the worst case, when you don't know how to write the logic, at least tell them how you can use them, what are the syntaxes, what is the difference and all. Okay, so that uh, she could explain here. Now next was, what is the difference between extract filter and the data source filter? Again, very important. So what is the difference and what happens? So extract filter means you are applying a filter to the extract that you have created, whereas data source filter is the filter that you are applying to the live data that is available. Okay, so there is a lot of difference here on for these two filters which you need to remember. Again, like what is the difference between group and set, which we have discussed about. This was the question again. Now how do you migrate the report? Explain in step by step process here. So again, again the one first guy from here asked this report in the question. Okay, so again let me tell you the process here. First is always development. Okay, remember this. Okay, very important, so that's why I'm trying to write it here. First is development, where you develop the report. So after that what you do, so this all development happens in a separate environment called as development environment. So I'm going to write development environment, or you can also tell it as dev environment, whatever you feel comfortable you can write. So once this development is done, what you will do is developer, or so I'm writing it as you will test your report. So first you will do testing at an individual level. You will only validate your report if it is fine or not. So once you feel that okay your report is correct, you need to move it to a different environment so that testing team can validate. Okay, now you're telling the other team to validate and do testing on your report. So now this is when you will move report to another environment called as a QA environment, or you can call it as testing environment. So in this, testing team will come into picture here. So the testing team will do the testing. Okay, so now what we need to make sure we are doing here. So when we are in development environment, we need to connect it to dev tables and dev dev link. Okay, similarly when you're in testing or QA environment, you need to connect to QA tables using QA link. So which means you are properly connecting to the proper environment here and proper tables. So that one thing that you need to make sure you are doing. And then, so when you're done, when you're in dev, you will publish it to dev server. When you are in QA, you will publish it to QA server, connecting it to QA tables. Now what else we need to make sure? We need to make sure that whatever the tables that we are using in dev, they are available in QA as well, and their structure is the same. Table structure is the same. So if there are any issues with the table structure, uh, it might start throwing error in your Tableau report. So that one thing that you need to make sure they are consistent across different environments, like in dev, for QA, and even in production. Now after QA team does all the testing, they will give a sign off, after which you have to move your report from QA to production environment. So to move your report to production server environment, you need to take a lot of approvals, like testing team approval, business approval. So once you get all the approvals, that is when they will ask you to move your report to production server. So again, same process we need to follow, like we have followed in when we have done it from dev to QA. You need to download the report that is successfully tested in QA environment, connect it to prod environment or prod tables, make sure all the structure of production tables are same, and make sure your report is working. So table structure is the same, and report is working. So you have to do some higher level testing whenever you are connecting it to prod, and once you feel that okay, report is fine, you will publish it to prod server. So that is how the migration will happen actually. So you need to explain this process in detail. So the more detail you tell, the confident interviewer will feel. So that's why this question is very important. So other question related to this might be like migration checklist. You can also tell like that. Okay, migration checklist. So some interviewer might ask like, what is a checklist that you have prepared for migration? Then you can also tell this kind of points that we have discussed here. Okay, so next was SQL questions that she got. So what is the SQL order of execution? So that was the question that was asked. So when did they ask this question? Like when the interviewer asked what is the filter order of execution, she was able to tell this answer. Now after this guy interrupted and asked, so similarly there is an order for SQL. Do you know what is the SQL order of execution? This was the question. Okay, so if you know what is the SQL order of execution, comment in the comment section and let me see how many of you can get this question correctly. Okay, so very interesting question. Let us see how many of you can answer. Okay, so next question was, she was asked to write a query using uh, three tables. So she was given three tables, like I think employee, department, and maybe salary, and she was asked to get uh, data for a particular employee using these three tables. I think she was able to write, and whatever she wrote, they copied that answer. Something this kind of thing happened. Now what is the difference between group by and having? They asked this question, like when do you use group by, or when do you use having clause, and when do you use where clause? So this were some of the questions she could remember in SQL. But the bottom line is, there were many questions on joins, she said, and some questions on where clause and group by clause. So these were the questions that she had and that she could remember in our interview. Okay, so I think that's it from my side in this video. I hope you find this video useful. If you find it useful, please do share it with all those who are trying to attend interviews, and don't forget to tell thank you to our subscriber who has shared us the questions, so that this can be of help to anyone who is planning to attend interviews. So that's it from my side, guys. Have a good day. and happy interviewing. Bye bye.